All right. Thank you for tuning in to the channel. We're so privileged to come back on again. We have DJ Genesis of Detroit, and we also have Calvin Johnson of Texas. We'd like
Yes.
to welcome you guys. Welcome aboard.
Welcome, welcome.
All right. Very good. So, tonight we're going to talk about a few subjects that many people were asking about today. We're going to start off talking about Donald Trump, Elon Musk. We're also going to talk a little bit about Diddy very briefly. And most importantly, we're going to talk about Karmelo Anthony. That's a case that we should be covering at the courthouse. I'll be coming down myself. So that should be exciting. And then we're going to finish off talking about the floods and also taking a look at some of these videos of the horrendous floods that are tremendously affecting people's lives. So let's first start off. I wanted to ask you about Karmelo Anthony. What is the deal with this case? Is there a chance for him to beat this case, or what are your thoughts, Calvin?
The concern I have for him in Texas is that even though where you're allowed, people just can't touch you, right? Somebody touches you, I think you're allowed to touch them back. You may even be allowed to punch them or push them back. Or if you have some small, non-deadly, non-lethal weapon, you might even be able to get away with using that. My concern for Karmelo Anthony is, and I'm going to explain to people how the law works in Texas, because each state's laws work differently. In Texas, self-defense is an affirmative defense, meaning the defendant must present evidence to support their claim that the use of force was justified. If somebody touches you, you can use force against them. That's part A. The burden of proof then shifts to the prosecution to prove beyond a reasonable doubt the defendant did not act in self-defense. Deadly force is only justified in Texas when there is a reasonable belief of imminent death, serious bodily injury, or commission of certain felonies. Non-deadly force is justified to prevent an unlawful attack or harm. And the issue that we have in this situation is, if somebody touches you, are you allowed to use self-defense? Absolutely. The problem is, was there a threat of deadly force at that point? And so that's going to be the bigger issue. Was he facing deadly force at that point? And see, that's the concern that we have. Was there a reasonable belief that they were going to seriously harm you, to cause injuries or death based on what was going on in that tent? And see, that's the concern that I have, is because there was allegedly some issue under the tent, but was deadly force justified? And Karmelo is going to have to show that he had a reasonable belief that stabbing that person in the heart with a knife was justified, knowing that that kind of action could cause an imminent death or serious bodily injury. So, and that when he did it, he was under the threat of death or serious bodily injury. And so that's the concern that I have. Will he be able to show that? And will a Texas jury out in Collin County with that particular kind of makeup, is a jury out in that county going to be able to, will they accept that kind of defense out there? And that's just what my concern is. Okay. I don't know I don't know if they're going to be ready to try to accept that kind of defense. Y'all, I'm going to try to fix the lighting in here a little bit. Give me a second. Hold on for a second. Okay. Hold on.
Okay, very good.
I'm going to try to fix the lighting in here a little bit.
All
So
right.
one thing I did notice in this news story, it says that the new video of Carmelo Anthony stabbing Austin emerges. Austin Metcalf emerges. They said he died in his brother's arms, and then he was stabbed by Carmelo Anthony at the track meet. Video shows no obvious altercation prior to stabbing. That's where. So this is the part that's going to be strange, you guys. That there was no obvious, like really physical altercation.
And see, that's what my concern is. Is there enough in the situation based off of what we know, is there enough based off of what we know to basically say, hey, there was enough going on there that says there was enough for him to be justified in using that deadly force. We don't know how serious that altercation was. And so based on that, that's why I have the concerns that I have in this case.
Does it say anything, the fact that he made bail?
No, to me, he has no criminal history. He's not a flight risk. In Texas, they can put you on a GPS monitor with house arrest, and that's what they've kind of done. So it didn't surprise me that he made bail.
And would this be a potential death penalty case?
No, because in Texas, the only time you're eligible for death is if they charge you with capital murder. And capital murder basically is committing a crime. And then because of that particular crime, death happens. So let's say there's an aggravated robbery that's happening. And while I'm doing that aggravated robbery, somebody dies and I can get charged with capital murder. I had a case in Collin County last year where they robbed a weed dealer, where they were going to rob a weed dealer. They didn't think the guy had a gun. The guy actually had a gun. They started shooting at each other. They actually shot the guy. The guy ended up passing away. And the people involved were charged with capital murder.
Wow,
because they went to rob the weed dealer. And in the course of robbing him, they're committing a felony. And in the course of that felony, death resulted. This is more of a one-on-one altercation where somebody lost their life, but there was no crime being committed initially that caused them to come together.
Let's take that same instance. If you have three guys, one just the driver, and then you have the shooter and another guy that's running alongside.
Everybody gets charged in Texas. Everybody gets charged with capital murder. In my case, I was representing the female, and she just drove the car.
Wow.
So she could get the death penalty too?
Yes, if they wanted to give her the death penalty. But of course, through my hard work, I don't think she really thought it was going to go this way. She wasn't a major part of what was happening. She played a part, an important part. So I was able to, she was going to turn state if they had to if somebody would have went to trial, and we didn't have to go to trial, but she interviewed with the state and she was going to have to talk, and she was willing to do that.
Right. Now, like in the case with this case that I'm going to cover here in New York, Luigi Mangione, people are giving so much money. Has that happened with this guy, Anthony, or Karmelo Anthony?
Yeah, I think people have donated over $500,000 because he can't really work. His mom and dad can't work anymore because everybody kind of knows how they look and who they are. And it's not safe for them to be working right now. But the problem is when you have a case like this, it's very expensive. And then they had to move from where they were living because of safety concerns. And they have to have security and all of these other associated costs. And so that's why everybody's kind of complaining. Now, to be honest with you, what's happening is a lot of people are pulling their support because they feel like the money that they gave for legal fees is being used for living expenses. They're accusing them of buying a new house and car. And I don't think it's like that, but they did have to move from one location to another because the location they were at is just not safe.
Wow. Is there any justifiable reason for him to have a knife at school?
And see, that's the concern that I have. And, I try to talk to people about that. And, people really get in their feelings about that. But you don't bring a knife to a track meet at school. And, like I told him before, I know it was raining and he went under the tent to get away from the rain. I get that. But you got a knife in your backpack. You're in their tent. It's not even your school's tent. You can go where you want to go. But at the same time, to have a knife at a track meet, most people are going to say, well, why do you have a knife at a track meet? And DJ Genesis pointed out earlier that from what I've been told from people who have seen the video, there's very little altercation that happened before the stabbing. There was not a 2-on-1 jump kind of situation based on everything that I'm hearing from people who have watched the video. And so that's the concern I have, is that if somebody pushes you, you just can't stab them in the heart and then get away with it. And that's the concerns that I have. And I'm not saying that that happened, but there's a high possibility that that happened. And if it happened that way, Mr. Karmelo Anthony is going to be in some serious trouble.
Right. What is the place that he's at now, or where it happened at? What is the climate or the temperature like there as far as people and their attitude toward this?
Collin County is more white. I would say probably 75% of the people out there are Caucasian. I would say another 10% are black, maybe 10% are Hispanic, and maybe 5% other. And so you got 3 out of 4 citizens out there that are Anglo American. And one of the issues that we have, because I'm from Texas, I live in this, and I tell people this all the time. When you have a situation like that in a county like that, where you have a young man and you have it be black and white, it's not a good thing to be in that particular situation. That's not a county where you're going to get a jury that is going to have a lot of black people on that jury that can maybe understand maybe where Mr. Karmelo Anthony is coming from. You may tend to have a lot of white folks on that jury, and not saying that everything is color, but I always tell people they're going to see their son or their relative in that kid that lost his life. And that's going to be of high concern. And I don't care how much we come down, protest, do this, do that. That doesn't really change their minds down here. When it comes to that stuff, that's probably going to embolden them even more to make the decision that they want to make. And I'm just concerned about him because of the spokesman that he has. I don't think he's helping them any. I think he's inflaming the people in Collin County. And I think he's causing the jury pool to really turn against Mr. Anthony. And if you try to move the case to another county, they're not going to allow it to be moved to Dallas. So that's not going to happen because it completely flips the grid. The surrounding counties are not better. I mean, you're better to stay in Collin County because you go to any of the surrounding counties that touch Collin County, it's not good. It gets worse as far as the jury pool. So I have a huge concern about Mr. Anthony in his case. He's a young black man, and of course, I'm a black man. So, speaking from the heart, I want the best result for him. But with these set of facts, I have a lot of concerns in the way the Texas law is, and the jury pool out there. I have high concerns.
I noticed in the case of Sean Puffy Combs, he has a real publicist, and then he has a crisis manager. Are those type of individuals already at play, or does that come into play at trial?
He has a publicist, a guy named Dominique Alexander. I'm very careful about what I say because I know the person. I'm just not a fan of how he has handled Mr. Anthony's situation. And as a lawyer, there's no way in God's green earth that if I was the lawyer for him, that I would allow this kind of press conference kind of thing, behavior, that we wouldn't be doing any of that. And if my client proceeded to allow that, whether it's mom or dad or whoever is allowing that to happen, I would resign from the case. I would remove myself from the case.
Okay. What do you think as far as time? Do you think he's looking at life or
no? Listen, he's not going to get life. Let's be honest. He's a kid, never been in trouble before. It looks like he was on his way to college before this incident happened. But I don't think they're just going to let him walk out of there either. That's the concern. I've had to tell people that my guess is somewhere between 8 and 20 years is what I'm thinking. And some people may get mad that I'm saying that. But that's where I think that this case is going to land.
Okay. Wow. And so as far as the people in that vicinity, what would they do if he didn't get any time? Would they protest, riot, go up in flames, or?
There would be a problem. I'm not saying they were protesting and riot, but I think that there will be a problem. Collin County, they pretty much will try to keep things quelled down, but they are very Trump heavy out there now, more than Dallas County, as Dallas is pretty much a Democratic county. Collin is our county to the north. Collin is one of the fastest growing counties in the entire United States, so that people understand that. I don't see a situation where he walks on this situation. Now, I could be wrong, but I don't foresee that happening. You know, if it happens, it happens. But I have concerns for two reasons. Number one, the path for victory there is a path for victory for him, but I think it's a slimmer one. And if you were tried to get a path for victory to him, everything would have to be handled properly on the front end. And I don't think that his parents, the publicists, and the team that he has now is going to get him there. And I'm going to tell you, I know Mike Howard, I know the attorney involved. He's a good attorney. It's not really his fault. I think there are some circumstances that are kind of happening that he doesn't have control over. And I think that that's going to be the situation that's going to cost him the most.
Is there a real argument for self-defense for Karmelo?
I think that there is. But my concern is when you have self-defense, you got deadly force and you got non-deadly force. So typically, if somebody's using non-deadly force against you, like let's say somebody decides to push me, put their hands on me, I'm allowed to put their hands on me, and maybe even go back and punch him if I need to punch him to get him up off me. Then I'm justified in doing so. But when it comes down to actual deadly force being used, that's a huge problem. That's a huge problem. When somebody is touching me and then I'm using deadly force against a touching, that's going to be a huge problem because you have to show that the using of that deadly force was justified. And so that's the concern that I have.
Okay. DJ Genesis, do you have a video you want us to watch it this time?
Yeah, I was just playing it a little bit, but I just want to kind of like just show how the father was standing there waiting, and then I think that he was trying to have some solidarity with the family, with the Karmelo family.
Can I say something about the father?
Yes.
And this is what I'll tell y'all. When the racists tried to align themselves with the father rejected them. So when the racists try to come out and they try to inflame it, he said, no, I'm a Christian. I have to be forgiving of somebody who has wronged me and my family. God requires me to forgive. And I'm not like you. I'm not a racist. I'm not that kind of person. I'm not going to stand with the hate group. Even though my son is white and the young man who's killed is black, he basically openly and utterly rejected them when they tried to align themselves with him. So I have to give the father a little bit of grace when it comes to that.
Wow.
So I want to kind of show a little bit of the
Go ahead.
Thing. Hold on one second.
Surprises, and what happened this morning is no different. We were all waiting to hear the Anthony family talk for the first time on the record. It was supposed to start at 11. 10 minutes turned into 20, then 30. The reason? Austin Metcalf's father, Jeff Metcalf, had walked in.
Who was not invited, he knows that it's inappropriate to be near this family.
What do you think about that? I think that was done in very bad taste. Why would he get on the microphone and try to embarrass this father like that? I think that was very. I think that was very rude.
It's one thing that I try to teach people. When you're working for a client, you never outshine your client. You never put your interests ahead of the client. You never make the center of attention yourself over the client. You want to make sure that the client has attention and that the client is showing more of a solemn tone. But when you start doing this, telling somebody that they're not welcome at a press conference where their son was killed, I'm not saying he had a right to be there or not be there, but it's a bad look when you got your people trying to tell somebody who just lost their son where they can be and can't be. That's concerning.
Okay, so
And then I think
it is inappropriate for him to. I don't think it is. I don't think it's appropriate for him to be there. But I think that when you're in that county, the optics of that is terrible, and we can say what we want to say about it, but I wouldn't have. There's no reason to have this press conference anyway. Why we having why we having a damn press conference anyway? So that's my answer to anybody who disagrees with me. We wouldn't be having a press conference if I'm representing them.
Hey, Calvin. So there's some individuals in the audience that are lost as to what's going on here. Could you give a little summary of this case? What happened?
Well, basically, they're saying that Karmelo Anthony, I guess there was a rain going on, because I want to make sure that I get that covered earlier. That he went under this tent that was there to maybe get himself out of the rain. He wasn't from the school, from the tent that he was under. Austin allegedly told him to move. There's been some stories about some bullying or more than one person going against Karmelo. I don't know how true that is, but what's happening is they're saying that there was an altercation. He was told to move. Then he told him not to put. He told Karmelo told Austin, who's a white kid, not to put their hands on him. Allegedly, Austin put his hands on Karmelo. Karmelo had a knife and a bag, reached down in the bag and stabbed him in the chest, and then started to run away. And Austin died there. After all of this happened, this person, Mr. Alexander, Dominique Alexander, who I guess is the spokesman. He's allegedly a minister. He's not a lawyer. But as soon as about 3 or 4 years ago, he was convicted of domestic violence in Dallas County. It was all over the news. He runs an organization called Next Generation Network, and I'm not trying to throw shade at him, but he had a couple of criminal issues that were very embarrassing in Dallas County for him and his family, and I don't have no shade against him, but he's been involved in a number of things in the Dallas County when it comes to race. And so I think that because of that, he ended up being out there in Collin County. I don't think that what he does is going to fly out there. And I don't think that's the best route for that particular family to take in Collin County, to have him as a spokesman. Number one, there should never have been a press conference. What are we talking about? Why would we have a press conference? The reason why, as an attorney, you don't have a press conference, that particular spokesman is not an attorney, so there is no privilege, right? There's no attorney-client privilege between Mr. Alexander and the client. And so because he's just the spokesman, if he says the wrong thing, if he divulges of what he does know or what he was told, he can actually be called as a witness, because there's no attorney-client privilege between him, the lawyer, and the defendant. His existence in any meeting actually creates a problem with privilege. There's no reasonable expectation of privacy when you have a third person there. So that's why typically when you see this, if it's not an investigator, typically you'll see the lawyers, maybe a paralegal or investigators. But if we don't have any additional outside people, and if they do anything, it's very brief. My client does not attend. He doesn't say anything. We don't hold a huge press conference. They may do a short 30-second statement, read from a statement, and then they walk off. There did not need to be a press conference, because as a representative, you don't want to be standing out there answering questions in a case that has not went to court yet, and you might say something or accidentally divulge something that the client told you or the family told you, and create a whole mess for the client. And so that's what this situation is, and that's why I wouldn't have allowed it.
So let's say he took cover in the tent because it was raining. Is it possible they may try to spin that as instigating or antagonizing the other opposite team?
They're going to try to say that. But with that being said, let's say he's just under there getting away from the rain and they have an altercation. The problem is, and I try to tell people, from the view that they have the cameras, you don't see a big altercation from what I've been told. So the only other way you're going to be able to prove altercation is what? By the people that were in the tent, right? Right? You're in the other school's tent. And I try to tell people, I try to break stuff down for people. Quit playing them away games. When I say quit playing them away games, you play home games. You quit playing, like as they said in The Wire. What did Avon Barksdale tell Stringer Bell? Did I tell you about playing them away games? No, you don't want to play the away games because you're in the midst of their people. And I'm telling you right now, if I went to high school with Austin and I'm his boy and all my friends are his boy, when they come to ask me something, I'm not going to testify favorably for the other person because that's my guy. And so that's why I get concerned. That's why I'm concerned. It's not I'm going against Karmelo. It's just the fact that he literally is playing an away game in their tent. And the people in that tent are going to speak for their boy. That's, that's they gang for him. So
Right.
My concern as an attorney, I would not want to have to rely on them for my witnesses because they're going to know what to say. They're going to close ranks. If they see something that's going to help Karmelo, they're going to close ranks. They're going to shut that down.
Now, I plan on coming down to Texas for this trial. How long of a trial do you think it would be?
Oh, it's going to be pretty long. I would imagine you're looking at a good 2 weeks, 2-3 weeks is what I'm guessing. About 3 weeks is what I'm probably guessing because of all the stuff that's going to be going on. But Judge Roach is not, he's no nonsense. He's not going to play any games. He's going to make sure people get on and off, and he's not going to have a lot of foolishness going on in his courtroom. He runs a tight ship. He's fair. Like I said, I have a relationship with that particular judge, so I got to be careful with what I say. But he's very, very fair, and he was nice to me because I'm telling you, I'm not. For the most part in my life, I have been a Democrat, but he didn't care that I had been a Democrat. He's a Republican up there. When I first started practicing law, I wanted to know how they did it, how my black lawyers did it, how my young lawyers did it, how my old lawyers did it.
That's right.
He took me under his wing. He showed me some things, talked to me about life, talked to me about my practice, gave me some great advice, and I'm thankful to him for that. He's very fair. He's also the Veterans Court judge, so when the veterans come in that have issues, he's always helping veterans do things, and so he's a very community-oriented guy. He has other lawyers in his family. His dad used to be the DA out in Collin County, and so they have roots there. So he is an experienced judge, and he's going to run a tight ship.
I have a question. Do you think that there was a lot of like when this case first came out, there was a lot of racial tension going on. You had like people kind of like beginning to march, and you had some really like not KKK, but like what were they called? Like these leaders of like these really organizations that were like
these white organizations that were trying to be racist. And see, this is the part where I'm concerned about. And see, this is the optic, right? They tried to get the dad to align himself with these organizations. The dad came out on at least 3 or 4 of those organizations and said, no, I am not like you. I'm a decent human being. I don't stand for what you stand for. I'm not with y'all. I don't feel like that. I don't view people the way y'all view them. Please do not try to align yourself with the plight of my son. And I'm going to tell you why that causes a problem for Karmelo. So when you look at the race issue, a lot of people are going to be, well, he's basically shunning the people that's trying to make it a race issue. And so when they see a person like him up there, hey, that's going to be a problem for him. And the reason why I try to tell people is if there's not clear video to show kind of what happened, and if there's not a clear ganging up or a clear path of bullying or whatever they're saying with that, we got to be very careful about what we hear in the news, because from the people that I've talked to that watched the video, you don't see much of a pre-altercation. You see basically it's him versus Karmelo. And if he puts his hands on if he puts his hands on Karmelo, Karmelo is allowed to respond. So if he puts his hands on him, Carmelo's allowed to push him, punch him, knock him down, remove his hand. My concern is the way the law reads in Texas. You can respond to force with force, but you can't respond to force, non-deadly force with deadly force. And so that's my concern. Karmelo is going to have to show that he was in danger of death or imminent bodily injury by basically what was happening under that tent. And that's the concern that I have for him out in that particular county, or I would have for him anywhere. That's just the concern I have. He's allowed to respond. It's not going to be the fact that he responded. It's going to be the fact to the level of force that was used, deadly versus non-deadly force. And that's going to be really his biggest problem as an attorney. That's my honest way I'm looking at it, if I was his lawyer, I'm gonna have to be like, hey, we got to figure out a way in your mind that you got to explain to them why you felt it was good to actually have a knife at a track meet, why you went for the knife, and why you used it the way you used it to the level that you used it. What was going on in your mind when you did that? And so that's the concern that I would have for Mr. Anthony, because believe me, I'm a black man. I have a black daughter. I don't want anything to happen to our children, especially a young man who, how you doing, brother? Especially a young man who seemed like he was a good kid, 3.8 GPA, had Division II scholarship to another university in Texas. I really, on a cool, I hate it happen for either of these young men, because it looked like that they were going to both go to college and play football and go from there. And I hate that it happened at all. But I'm really concerned about Karmelo, not just because of the way it happened, for two reasons. Number one, the amount of deadly force that was used against the offensive touching. And number two, the way his team has handled dealing with this case, the publicist and all that there. I'm not a fan of the way they've handled this situation.
Hey, let me just let the audience know that you got to give people a chance to land their plane, and then if they want to answer the question, they will answer the question. But to continuously say answer me like you're like demanding answers, we're not even going to do that either.
And I try to explain to people, no, Austin does not have a right to touch him. And if y'all listen to me, listen. If me and you are arguing in Texas, and I touch you, and you tell me not to put your hands on you, you could punch me, you could three-piece me, you could knock me down, maybe even kick me a little bit. But if I touch you, you can't go in the bag and grab a knife and stab me in the heart. And see, this is what I'm concerned about, because I know the state is going to try to make that argument that way out there. And that's the argument that scares me.
What can I just say something though?
I have to get in there before you.
Go ahead, Mom. Go ahead, Mom. I'm sorry.
Go ahead,
go ahead, Queen. No,
yeah, I'm just saying that's what scares me. If I'm representing them, this is what, like, if you see my eye, I'm getting crazy eye again. That's what scares me.
I don't think
that's what scares me.
Hey, Calvin, you see my do-rag? You see that? You see that Durbane? That mean I'm good, baby. When you
get it.
Durbane on,
no, she ready for war. She ready for war. Go ahead.
Hey, I get it.
And she got the green nails on. She already she cameled down. But I don't think that there is any legal precedent for anyone's level of fear. So, and then when you have a second person, the possibility of the brother being behind him, which is what I've been hearing, not sure because I have not seen, the discovery as of yet. So, if there are multiple opponents, I've seen it work in multiple cases. Now, once again, you're saying
that's exactly where I'm going to go. Like, if I'm defending him, I'm going to try to make the argument that there's multiple opponents. But the problem that I got, it goes back to what I was telling Queen and telling everybody else. You're playing an away game, and I need somebody from the home team.
But guess what? But Calvin, I just look at it like this. When I compare this case back to Trayvon Martin, there were two young black men, both of them 17 years old, and got railroaded in different ways, if you ask me. One had a weapon of Skittles in a hoodie, and the other one had a weapon of a knife in his backpack. We can argue and say about this weapon in the backpack, but one of the main questions that attorney need to find out, how long has he been bringing that weapon in the backpack? Because that might not have been something where he's always, he just took it because he went to that school. And if we go back and everybody I've asked in my chat that come for me, I want to know, do you know any other kids that bring two things to school? Weapons and drugs every single day. Every day. So it may seem new because there's something that's going on in this moment, but those kids bringing weapons and drugs to school, there's absolutely nothing new about that. So we can't say that he did it for that cause. We should be able to strike that off the record.
Yeah, and I get that.
Not necessarily always considered a weapon. A pocket knife can be used for a tool to cut. You
know, he bought it in school property though, so he get charged for that. Go ahead.
He get charged for that, but if it was a situation where he can, where his lawyer or attorney can argue a reasonable sense of fear,
exactly. Yeah, nobody can tell you how to wiggle.
And y'all, that's exactly where I would go. And it goes back to, I need a jury that's going to be accepting of that argument. And one of the things that's upsetting to me is his team is creating an environment where it's going to be harder for me to get the kind of jurors I need to make my argument. Exactly. I'm going to do two things. I'm going to make a multiple opponent argument, and I'm going to make more of a happenstance argument. I didn't know that I was going to go to a track meet. It was going to rain and I was going to end up under their tent. So of course I'm going to make those arguments. That's thing number one. Thing number two, I actually interviewed Trayvon Martin's parents. And I'm going to tell y'all this. I did it at Essence Festival, 2017, 2018. And I'm going to tell you, it was a very eye-opening experience for me. I used to have a show on Power Play Radio Network. Me and my friend Charles Harper had a show called The Den, and we were down there and we actually interviewed Trayvon Martin's parents. And I just remember talking to the mom, and then I remember standing next to the dad, and there was an eerie feeling of when we started to talk about it, he kind of zoned out. You know what I mean? You know how you're standing next to somebody and you can feel it?
Right.
You can feel it. And I know it's almost like he zoned out, like he wished he may have went and did something to George Zimmerman for taking his son out. Because as black men, you know, sometimes we feel that, you know what I mean? Y'all know what I'm talking about. You feel it like, yeah,
I'm a dad, man.
You know what, I'm gonna get him.
But you know what though?
And I felt that, so I understand that.
I feel like this about it, Calvin, and this is where it comes in, like we spoke about earlier, about being a defense attorney versus a DA, state attorney. For me, and every time I talk about this case, even on my own channel, anytime I have to bring a person name up like this, I never call his name. I say, rest in peace, deceased. That's me showing my respect for him.
Right.
And I also put it on the table that I have a multitude of people that I have crossed paths with, white, black, all different races. I've been to about 5 different countries. But I'm going to tell you this, when it's time for defense, like I told my white counterparts, white friends, white people I know, this is when it'll draw the line where you're either going to look at me as being racist and prejudiced, or you're going to look at me for what my eyes see. And if I see self-defense, I'm going to stand firm on it if that got to break our relationship up. So for me right now, I can't look in the eyes of his dad. Why? Because I got a young man to defend, and I feel like self-defense is going to be on the table. And if his attorney feel like he got to feel sympathy or feel anything because of what the jury going to think, then right there, we're going to have to cancel that attorney, because at this point, you got to take the emotions off the table, like we always said, and now it's time to defense. And defense means if we got to find to pick every nick and cranny, you got to go in all the woods to pull out the dirt. And the mama, the daddy, and the son have told a lot about the rest in deceased. And we got to hone in on there.
And one of the things that I try to tell people is that when you're in Texas, and I know I'm from Texas,
right?
And the whole reason why I keep saying that is because y'all have to understand the lay of the land out here.
Right.
And when I say the lay of the land out here, when I explain to y'all that we had more people on death row in the whole United States that came out of Dallas County that were basically, the cases were overturned because of one of my friends, Craig Watkins, who the first black African-American DA in Dallas County, one of the first in the whole entire state of Texas. So that's why I'm having this conversation with you guys about that, because if there's a path for victory for him, what you have to do is you can't have these press conference ass mistakes and situations that are happening, because first of all, you shouldn't have been having a press conference. All you do is release a statement where nobody can show up. You don't want cameras and attention on your client right then and there. And what I am telling you, based on some of the things that have already happened, is creating a bad environment for him and the attorney, for the attorney to be able to go do his job. And that's why I told y'all I wouldn't have this person helping me do anything, because I don't want my job made harder, especially out there in the county that he is in, when I know that 75% of the population out there is Anglo. And in addition to that, the kind of jurors that I'm probably going to get are going to be that kind of way. And so I need to be careful not to inflame anybody's feelings that's going on. Of course, I'm going to go fight for my client, but I ain't going to be fool enough to create a situation where the optics of putting this person out this damn press conference is even happening, because we're not having a damn press conference. We're going to have one statement and we're moving on. And so I'm telling you what I'm seeing down here. These kind of mistakes can't happen. This young man's life is on the line. I'm not putting myself out there. I'm not putting myself on camera or my folks on camera. We don't need to be on camera, period. Because number one, guess what? If I'm dead and I'm standing behind there, what the hell am I doing at a press conference? You know why that's the problem? Just seeing dad stand back there? Because then my life's on the line now. They know how I look. Now the whole world's looking at me. Now I can't work. Now I can't have a semblance of peace in my household. I got to watch everywhere I go. Now I got to spend the money to get security to travel around with me because I put myself in a situation where I'm on the camera. And see, one thing y'all don't know, listen, there are some folks, and I know there are people going to watch this, some folks that do it for attention, and I'm not doing it for attention, man. My life, these guys' life, this young man's life is at stake. So if I make a mistake like this and I cost that young man his life, I got to live with that.
That's right.
And that's why I'm concerned, y'all. I'm really concerned.
That's why I'm concerned too, Calvin. I'm going to be honest with you. I am more invested in my heart in this Karmelo Anthony case and also Anton Massey, because I feel like in my heart, he is going to get time. But I kind of feel like what you said about the Diddy case. You're going to get time because you did something wrong and you got to be held accountable. But what they're trying to charge you with, to me, needs to be taken off the table. And as the young lady said, she said, do you think he should have been able to touch? Of course not. Absolutely not. And that's what the problem is in our Black community. Or is it a problem? When you put your hands on us and you're uncertain, what do you get back?
Now, hold on.
Queen, can I share something with you before we get to the next part of the conversation? Louisiana is even worse than Texas.
I know. That's why.
So let me tell you something. With Antoine Massey, I'm going to say this little phrase that one of the radio stations used to say. Stoop down, baby. Let me jack you up. I'm trying to tell you.
Listen,
it's going to go bad for him.
It's going to go bad, but you know what? But why is it going bad though, Calvin? You know why it's going bad? Because you notice the guy that's still on the run is on the run for murder. Why were they after Anton Massey so bad? You know why? Because he just spilled the secret. He the first one that did a video. He exposed and they had to show the inside. He exposed something.
Listen,
and they covering it up.
Let me tell you something. The movie that I'm in, a movie that I'm literally in, they locked a man up for 43 years for a crime he didn't commit. I'm going to tell you how bad Louisiana is. And I want y'all to go to our movie, He Never Came Home. I want you to understand one thing. A lady gets killed. I have a mentally challenged 16-year-old Black man on one side of town. I got a regular 26-year-old white man covered in blood on another side of town who has actually talked about robbing somebody. In the official crime, they had to kill the lady at the mall and drive to the other side of town that's 26 miles away to dump the body where the body was found, right?
Right.
My mentally challenged person that we did the movie about, he can't drive. His family does not even let him use public transportation.
Wow.
Because the last time they did it, he got lost. So who do you think got charged with the murder? They put both of them in jail. They let the white guy out. His mom called somebody, complained. They let him out. His mom flew him to Memphis, where she's from, and immediately flew him to Canada. And while they locked this mentally challenged Black man up and left him in, that's Louisiana. Louisiana is worse than we are.
Yeah, it's bad.
Oh yeah.
It's bad.
Oh yeah.
It's overrated bad. And
let me play this video. Let me play this video so you guys can get an idea of the situation with that.
Go ahead.
He never came home. It's this little bit of the documentary trailer.
Yeah,
Daddy, what happened to Mrs. Booth?
Somebody killed that lady that knew about her when they was covering up, and they had to put it on a black man.
let the whole thing play, y'all. Watch this.
But in the position that they got him and got him to confess to all of that stuff, but forced him to confess.
A 16-year-old, 5 officers. This statement from the very beginning was coerced.
You have somebody that's mentally disabled, who's in a room for the first time, who has never been interrogated. They may not understand what they're being asked. They're more susceptible to pressure.
Have you ever been mistreated? You know just what I'm talking about.
Louisiana has been that state that has been horrific when it comes to Black people. You know, I think about the statue of Robert E. Lee, you know, and part of raised high over the city, you know, and I think about young Black kids having to walk past that statue on the way to school. And the ideology of white supremacy still looking down all over that state.
You was always considered as a boy. It didn't make no difference who you were. If you had brown skin, you was a boy.
It was very segregated, especially in Ferguson, you know, in the rural. It was no interaction.
The white man loses his conscience when it comes to equality and justice for Black folk.
And so that is the story of Lehman Howard. I was involved in that project. And so when you talk about Louisiana, you can go ahead and cut that, Genesis. When you talk about Louisiana, that's when you look at how things are down here in the South and why you got to be extremely careful when you handle a case. Now, I want people to understand one thing. To get the results you need to get out of this case, you have to handle this case a certain way.
Right.
The South is different. What you do not do is have a damn press conference where you're putting the boy father out of there. Should he have been there? Hell no. But you don't even create the situation where the man can come in the first damn place anyway. Because at the end of the day, the cost that is the cost in this case is not going to be to you. If the case is lost, that young man's going to lose his freedom and his livelihood and the direction of the rest of his life. And so that's why I don't like what's going on here. And I said it, and I say it to a lot of people. I know Mr. Alexander. He don't like what I'm saying. It's so be it. Like this, as the song says, so be it. I don't care.
What is it with the press? Because even with the Roy Hinton Jr., I saw that his lawyer actually spoke to Fox News, the press, the local press, about what was going on with the case. You have this situation. I think that this young man has talked to the press several times about the case. Do you think it's like, and even with the Diddy case, there were some instances where you had people getting involved with the press, and I think that might have even stopped people from being able to testify in certain instances because they were involved with the press. What would you tell people about even getting involved with the press? Why do people want to jump on the news and get seen and do all that?
See, that's how people are. I tell people all the time. Even when I worked for Chris Bosh, I wasn't jumping out telling everybody what I was doing. I did my job. I did it quietly for the most part. And when it was time for me to step out, the only times I really stepped out there was when we had our Chris Bosh Foundation events in the summertime for the kids, because that was something I took the lead on. But when he's having a press conference, I'm not out front with him. That's his press conference. When some other stuff is going on, I'm not out front with him. And I did stuff for that family that people don't even know about. Stuff was going bad in the background. I don't talk about it, but I wasn't jumping out telling everybody I was doing it. Some people are not used to having accomplished things in life to where they've headed things. Me, I'm used to that, and I put the client first. It's not about me.
Right. And you know what I wanted to ask you? With the attorney, have you spoke to him to ask him when he sees stuff like this from the spokesperson? Has he tried to speak to him, tell him that it's running the case, or is he saying, you know what, my job is to defend my defendant, and whatever he's out there doing, I'm gonna have to just put my questions on the line, and I'm gonna have to go for any witness that they come, and if they hit that stage, I'm gonna tear down every sentence that they put together.
Listen, Mr. Howard's gonna do everything. He's gonna do everything he has control over. But even as the attorney, I can't tell the client and their family and the spokesman what to do. But I will tell you, if it was me, I wouldn't work with. I would if we unless we had control, unless I got CCs, what we call CC client control. Yes. Unless I have client control, I'm not dealing with it. And Mr. Howard's doing everything he can. But at the same time, he doesn't control everything. It's his mom and the dad, and it's what they want to do.
But I also want to ask you, like, how long ago was this press conference? Isn't this one of the press conferences back from when it first happened? Because I haven't seen any recent press conferences from this.
That's all they needed. This is all they needed.
After the disaster that happened, the disaster that happened, the first one, they didn't want to have anymore.
Right, but guess what? And that's, I get what you're saying, DJ. That's all they needed. But I can also tell you this, and that's all. If the defense know what he's doing, and you say he's a very good one, all he needed too. Because guess what? Soon as it happened, you got the mama that went slamming the son and didn't realize she was slamming the son. You got the daddy that went slamming the son and didn't realize he was slamming the son. You got the own brother that went slamming the son. I don't think they understand that even the interviews that even they did were damaging, and they didn't understand that those interviews were just as damaging, if not to me, more than what he did. Because they went to saying how he was out slaughtering hogs the week before, how he came back begging to go to.
Can I ask y'all something?
Mm-hmm.
I want to ask y'all something, right? You in a county that's 75% white.
That's what my problem
and the
is.
majority of the people that are seeing this thing going on is 75% white. In what world do you think that they looking at the brother and the mom and the dad? I'm gonna tell you something, man. Some people just flat out say it's vengeful. Let's be honest. Who do we have as president right now?
Mm-hmm.
We got a president basically that damn near, and we got to start waking up, y'all. And we're gonna have this conversation. We're gonna have a family. We're gonna call a huddle, time out, huddle. How the hell you think Trump ended up being president after actually attacking? He literally tried to send people in there to kill all our goddamn House of Representatives, senators, and people, everything in there.
Right.
Those you dealing with some heartless folks, man. And the last thing you want to do is inflame a bunch of heartless people. Because and let me break something down to you. When you're in a county that's 75% white, and let's be real, and that's why we gotta keep it in the family right here. Let's be real.
Right.
A lot of people are gonna see, regardless of what you think about Austin Metcalf, they're gonna see that as their son,
of course,
their grandson,
right,
their brother, they nephew, their cousin, their best friend. So what you want to do is you want to avoid anything to inflame their emotions.
They're gonna inflame anyway because they already inflamed.
I get it
versus a white.
But I get it, y'all. But as a defense attorney, what I can control is the fact that we ain't got to have no damn press conference.
Thank you.
Boy, daddy showing up. We ain't got to do all that, man.
They kicked the dad out they kicked the father out. The father said that I was just trying to shake their hand and make amends with them and be whatever he tried. Now he like he's the peacemaker. Oh, look at him, he's such a peacemaker, and he was only trying to be cool with them.
Listen, y'all.
What kind of asshole
let me tell y'all.
And then this guy lost it. It don't
there was a press
matter.
conference. Listen,
one time.
There was a situation out in front of the
Time
Dallas
to me.
County,
That
the
whole
Collin
thing
County
was
Courthouse,
jacked up.
y'all.
Uda,
Listen,
did you have something to say? Because I know you're sitting
I
there.
just got it. Just got it. I'm in.
let me tell y'all one more thing. There was a situation in front of the Collin County Courthouse where a white supremacist organization tried to reach out to the dad of the white kid who got killed and say, "We stand with you, brother, we're with you." The dad got the microphone and told them in their face, I am not like that. I am not a racist. We do not stand for the same things. Our beliefs are not the same. I don't hate people based on what color they are. That's what that man did in that situation. And then after timeout, and then after that situation happens, you take your ass out there and have that kind of damn press conference where that man walk in there and you tell him to get out of there and leave. The optics of that are horrible.
It looks
we have to be
terrible.
honest.
Those were terrible.
I was embarrassed, cringing. I was cringing. Like, oh my God, what?
Yeah,
that's why I was mad.
I'm black, and
I would say this though.
the most black. I'm black, y'all, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm bliggity. Listen, let me tell you, I was looking at that shit like, oh my God, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I can understand that too, but you know what? And because I feel so strongly about Karmelo Anthony, I can also overlook that because once I get in the courtroom, your defense is not on what he did back then. Your defense is what you're trying to prove as this young man not being a murderer like they saying it, and what his true charges should be. Because we can continue to harp on what this man did. We can harp on a lot of things, but what happens when we get in the courtroom? We're gonna be faced up against those jurors,
and the jurors watch the news and they be on the internet.
And I hope, but when you're going through questioning, those jurors are supposed to say they don't know nothing going on, though.
Well, if they feel
like the jurors in the Diddy case said they didn't know what was
pain in my
going on,
face right now.
Clearly, they had preconceived notions.
This is real pain, y'all.
Yeah, of course.
There's pain in my face right now.
For him, because I feel pain.
It's pain, man.
Trayvon Martin did get away.
It's pain, man, and I know the way that these people have handled this young man's case, man, and he's 17 years. He don't know no better. He ain't got control, and these people playing with his life like that, making these kind of rookie mistakes, man. They make rookie mistakes.
Right. Listen, I agree with you on the fact that you know what I'm saying, the press conferences and stuff were not necessary. However, you know, if the dad wanted to make it extend a gesture of goodwill, he could have also had somebody, a lawyer or attorney, say, listen, I want to, you know, I just want to send my, you know, my respects to the parents, to his parents at the very least, because there's loss all around right now.
Yeah, there is.
You know, this is not just affecting him as he lost his own son, but their child is also, you know what I'm saying, being threatened to lose his life and his rights.
That's right.
And so all around the board, if he really wanted to extend that gesture, he didn't have to necessarily show up, because we know folks have smile in your face and then shoot up the schoolroom or shoot up the daggone library. We know who does that. That we don't do that stuff. You know what I'm saying? But you know, you feel what I'm saying?
I just want to play this again for somebody.
I feel bad for all the parents.
Remind y'all how this whole thing looked. Let me just play this again so you guys can get an idea of how this looked. Okay, let me just play it.
But this is such a tragic case, and it is sad all around. But it's also had its share of surprises, and what happened this morning is no different. We were all waiting to hear the Anthony family talk for the first time on the record. It was supposed to start at 11. 10 minutes turned into 20, then 30. The reason? Austin Metcalf's father, Jeff Metcalf, had walked in.
Who was not invited. He knows that it's inappropriate to be near this family, but he did it.
Karmelo Anthony is charged with murder in his son's death at a track meet in Frisco on April 2nd. Jeff Metcalf said nothing. He just stood and waited. The group hosting this told him to leave, or they'd call Dallas police. The group's founder, Dominique Alexander, made this statement.
Is a disrespect to the dignity of his son.
Jeff Metcalf was escorted out by DPD before the family arrived to speak.
Oh my God.
Ultimately, it was not a court order that made him leave, but because the owner of the building said he was trespassing.
Jesus.
Metcalf shook hands with officers and then left. This press conference was about
the family didn't kick him out. The PR company and the building people picked him. So it's not even the family's decision to kick this guy out.
That's what I'm saying. So we still should be able to
Hearing
defend
from
him.
Karmelo's mom, Kayla Hayes, and we finally did.
We believe in legal process, and that is where the truth will come out. To the family who experienced the loss, my heart truly goes out to you.
The family says they've endured threats, lies, and racial harassment over the last 2 weeks.
Our family has been under attack.
Mostly over a fundraising page they say they haven't been able to access until Wednesday. They're fighting claims they're profiting off of this or living lavishly from the funds raised.
We have endured death threats. My husband had to take a leave of absence because he's afraid what may happen to our family.
We've asked for comment from Jeff Metcalf. He told us
I want to respond after this.
We're also told this will be the last time we hear from the Anthony family before a possible trial. But that will not stop all the talk from the outside and any more surprises that have come with this case. In Dallas, I'm Jobin Pueniker.
May I sidebar? May I approach the bench, please?
Go ahead.
Yo,
I want to cry, man. I want to cry.
I know. But Karen Reed case, right? The Karen Reed case was about a white woman who basically was charged with running over a police officer. This guy took his brother's children he didn't have his own children. You know what I'm saying? His brother died. He had two of his brother's children, and he was a good cop. You know what I'm saying? Like, he was a good cop. I from what I you know what I'm saying, have assessed from the evidence that they provided, this dude was a good dude, right? But she had a lot of emotional issues going on, and she was very demanding and this, that, and the other, and she was causing a lot of conflict. The guy was ready to really let her go in a lot of the text messages, right? So at the end of the day, they were at some kind of party. She dropped him off at the after party at another police officer's house where there was other officers and stuff there. And the evidence showed that when she backed up at 25 miles per hour, that his phone stopped moving, and this man was in the snow, frozen and broken, right? He got hit by the car, according to the car data and the cell phone data. And I mean, it was conclusive as far as I was concerned. At first, when her first trial went on, you know, it looked like, you know, there was a possibility with the police officers that didn't like her that there was some kind of, you know, collusion and stuff going on. But once the second trial came out and the evidence came out, the data from the car and the data from the phones was conclusive as far as I was concerned. But you know how many white folks went out there to support that white woman after she was after the evidence, you know what I'm saying, was conclusive that she literally smacked that man at 25 miles an hour moving.
He's black.
But he's a brother, he's a young brother. Right. Now look at the Kyle Rittenhouse case, right? Kyle Rittenhouse. I'm a court watcher, y'all. I sit here and watch this stuff every day, 8 o'clock to 6 p.m. My son knows how to make objections at this point, right? So I'm, you know, I hear what you're saying. I was going to say before that if his attorneys feel that he's not going to be able to get a fair trial, you know what I'm saying, of his own peers in there are some opportunities that he can try to motion for, like possibly moving out of the state.
No, I'm gonna tell you why. I'm gonna tell you why.
Go ahead, please.
No, you're not gonna be able to move out the state. Number one. Okay, that's the first thing. If you go to another county,
yes, you did, Penny.
Jesus, you don't want. Listen, let me break something down to you.
We're in Texas.
I practice in Dallas County, which they're not going to allow the case to go to. They're going to object to that one. So the counties that you have around are Tarrant, which is worse than Collin. You don't want to go out there.
Hell no.
Tarrant County, you don't want to go out there.
Right.
One of their county commissioners is flat out. I'm almost saying he's Donald Trump Jr. basically out there.
That's where I got caught up in Tarrant County. Jesus.
So
no,
you don't want to go to Denton County. No, you don't want to go Denton County. That's worse. You don't want to go to Ellis County. No, you don't want to go to Ellis. You don't want to go to Rockwall County.
So he can't even motion for a judicial ruling based on the evidence so that the judge can make the hearing as opposed to a jury that may be biased.
You don't want that either.
Yeah, out there, I don't think you want that because of the way that the law reads. No, and that's why my concern is Collin County actually is the better place for him. If you can't come to Dallas, Collin County is the best place out of the 6 or 7 or 8 that's around the area. So that's my concern. Collin County is the place where he's going to get the most African-American potential jurors, and that they have a decent, strength African-American community out there. And so to go to another county is not really an option because, once again, y'all, I'm in Texas, so I kind of know this because I practice in all the counties. And so Dallas, if you're asking me, if I want my case tried in the county around here, my first choice is going to be Dallas. My second choice is going to be Collin.
What about the voir
everywhere
dire
else
process?
I don't want to go.
What about the voir dire process when they're choosing, that they're picking and choosing the jurors? I think that would probably be the best bet for his attorneys to really focus on making sure that, that the jury pool, reflects, at least an unbiased opinion.
Well, this is where I got a problem with our people as a practicing attorney in this area. We don't show up to jury duty, number one. When we do show up to jury duty, we figure out a way to get off jury duty because we don't want to miss work. It's going to mess up the paycheck. We barely live in check to check to begin with, so we don't have enough money to make it to the next week. The jury don't pay enough to cover the money that you're going to lose sitting there for 3 weeks. In addition to that, the ones that do want to be on the jury, we don't know how to keep our mouths closed enough to make sure that we don't get struck.
Yeah.
Right.
So down here, we got a problem.
Yeah.
And so that's why I'm worried, y'all. Listen, y'all see this look on my face. I'm worried. I'm not worried for the fact that, hey, of course, I would fight Karmelo Anthony. I'll fight for him like he's my son. But my concern is you got to be very, very careful with every little thing that you have. Whatever you have to control it properly. Don't make dumb rookie mistakes. Don't be out here making simple mistakes of stuff that could have been avoided.
So
because
let me ask
people will remember that stuff.
Yes.
They'll remember it, yeah.
So let me ask you this now, Calvin. Mm-hmm. Now that he's off, the water already spilled. He already did the interview. At this point in the game, because we know that we have a big fight ahead of us. And when I look at this fight, I see Trayvon Martin. And I see where Boots can be on the ground and he can be protected and he can win. He may not win where he's going to be free, but a murder and getting that much time.
Manslaughter at the least.
I feel like we could beat that.
He's indicted for first degree murder, though.
Yes, of course, but they can
They can ask for an instruction on manslaughter, and that's something that you can definitely ask for.
That's
they can be a 2 to 10 or a 2 to 20.
Right. So what do we do now that the water's already spilled with what their people did? How do we move forward to win this case? Because we can't take that back now.
You can't take it back. The only thing y'all can do is to make sure that you donate to his cause, and that when court does happen, maybe you show up a little bit. But the problem is you don't want to inflame a situation. You don't want to be out there going back and forth. And I'm telling you right now, you get a lot of black folks out there. You got these other groups showing up out there. You will raise the racial tensions to a case like this, and you don't want to do that. That's the concern I have for him in this situation. It's just like I feel bad for him because he's such a young man. It looked like he had a bright future ahead of him.
He still do.
Exactly, but I hate that it happened at all. And that's just where my heart is at.
And what I want to ask too is that if the majority of the people that probably were the witnesses to this are children, how is it even going to be able to find to even defend yourself against that? Because you gotta get kids to even show up on the stand. Like, who's gonna be able to even testify?
No, they're gonna make those kids come to the stand. And my concern, once again, what was my first statement when we started this dream? There you go, playing them away games again. You can't play an away game out there. When I say an away game, I'm relying on the people in the tent to basically say what was happening, right? They're his classmates. One's his brother. One of the people that he go to school with, they love him. That's their boy. They play sports with him. They see him every day. He's their compadre. That's why I have concerns, because you're under their tent. You're playing an away game. You don't have your people. I feel more comfortable if it's my people in that tent with me, or at least one or two of my people in that tent with me. I don't have any people in that tent with me, and that's why I'm concerned.
And if you answer, if I could answer that question and let's give you a statement on it too, for me, that's more reason for him to say self-defense. First of all, he is under a tent, and he was under there because it was raining. Next of all, while under the tent, they already said the camera that they got from the other side of the field, the camera really couldn't see nothing. All they seen was about 35 to 40 people huddling on the tent. And if you've been out to those games before, those tents lean. So if people standing up and the bleachers go up like this, you're gonna see a huddle. That right there is a cause for a person to be in fear, because if all of these people huddled around him, it's 35, 40 of y'all. I'm the only one up under there. I'm by myself, and everybody at me like this, and you and your brothers at me as well. It's some kind of grounds for defense. Now, I want to know who get to determine how scared I am and how I should stand my own ground. Who gets to
there's going to be a reasonable person standard, and the problem that you the problem that you're going to have is you're going to have these jurors who got a little bit of an inflamed opinion because this damn knucklehead didn't have the damn press conference he should have had, so they're already a little heightened regardless if they're going to say it or not. But you got those folks, and you got this kid that this happened to, and then you got another kid that you got somebody who's handling this case. That's, I ain't going to go there, but I'm just saying that's why I'm concerned about that. And so somebody said, I believe they knew each other previously before the incident. I'm going to tell you, there has been no evidence that they knew each other. There's been no evidence that there's any text messages or anything like that went through each other. So that's why stuff like that, unless you can prove it in court, it's not going to go anywhere. And I'm telling you right now, they took everybody's cell phone that was around there. So they got everybody's cell phone messages. They got everybody's text messages. They got everybody's GPS coordinates on those phones. I'm telling you right now, that technology nowadays, it's over for anybody committing any crimes because of the way the technology is caught up with us.
Yeah.
So you know, all of those videos that they have, all these videos circulated, but and it's showing somebody being attacked and this, that, and other, and none of those videos have leaked other than the couple that's have been shown. Right. I feel like it's still a lot of fighting.
But see, that's what I'm trying to tell you. They take those videos. They took everybody's phone.
Them people can get their phones, especially if them.
No, iPhones. They can't. No, they cannot. They cannot. No, they cannot get their. They cannot get their phones. They cannot get their phones.
No, I'm saying they can't get their phone. They got access to get their videos, because even with my phone, if my phone break right now, I just left from the phone company. They said if my phone break, all I need to do is log into my account online, which house all your videos and stuff.
And what they're going to do.
But there's a log.
They're going to seize and lock those things up because they don't want that stuff getting out.
Ryan Kohlberger,
because it's a pending case.
The Ryan Kohlberger. So we so the courts can access all of that. The prosecutor's office and everything can access everything.
Yeah.
Right. So Ryan Kohlberger, who just, literally pled guilty to 4 murder charges. Right. So and he did that. He pled guilty because he was about to get the firing squad in Iowa. You ain't getting the chair no more, and you're not getting no injection. They went old school, draconian on Negroes. Okay. So this white guy killed all of those 4 college students, and they accessed his phone data. And this is why, I had to object to that lady earlier. I think her name was Peggy or something like that. I'm making an objection speculation, sis, because the data from the car and the phone, the cell phones and car data in the Karen Reed case, in my opinion, was conclusive. However, the jury was still not up to par on that kind of evidence. And I'm talking about evidence that you can't oh, well, she didn't hit him. That's not what the data says. And that data might as well be like DNA. That's forensic science, right? But nobody wanted to trust. There was a black guy on the jury who said, oh, when I looked at her, I knew she wasn't guilty. Like, excuse me, bro? Before you even heard the evidence, you said that?
And I'm telling you, you jurors are funny. You never know what direction that they're going to go into.
Right.
You never know how they're going to feel.
Data, if you pull up some DNA on some on a child, or you know what I'm saying, on paternal, you know what I'm saying, everybody want to trust that. Oh, you are the father, right? But when you get some time stamps from a car and the cell phone, and it's conclusive. It's absolutely conclusive. Now you're going to be like, oh, well, that was the dog that did it. If that dog had bit that man, there would have been teeth marks on both sides of his arm. But there wasn't. There was scrape marks on one side, which would have supported the idea that the back what do you call it, light, the tail light broke and scraped him as he was getting knocked out at 25 miles an hour. We got to be more careful. But you know, of course, everybody sided with the victim, the woman, right? I don't want to make it racial, you know what I'm saying? But it is to a degree. I think half of the jury was all white women, and the other half was males with a couple of mixtures, you know what I'm saying, in there. You know, I think there was maybe like two, like maybe an Asian and an African American or something in there. But you know, I hear what you're saying when it comes to the juries in Texas. You know, what I'm saying?
And I want y'all to understand,
showing up, for jury duty.
I'll give an example.
So sad.
I'll give an example. There was a case by a lady named Joyce Ann Brown, who I know, and who had ran an organization for years, and her case was one of the largest cases in the country. I want y'all to go do your research on Joyce Ann Brown. She was accused of robbing a fur company along with two other guys on her damn lunch break. And they accused her. And she had clocked in. She had several witnesses that saw her at work. She didn't have the time, based on somebody actually drove where she would have had to drive through, committed the crime and drive back. It was actually impossible to actually do.
Wow.
And they found her guilty. And she did about 12, 14 years, if I'm correct, for a crime that she did not commit. She ended up getting out. I actually ended up getting to meet her. She started an organization where she helped wrongful convictions. But that's the history of the stuff that we have going on down here in Texas. And as I'm talking to everybody, for the most part, most of us, y'all are out east, south, or y'all up north, south. Y'all not down here with us like that. It's different down here. You gotta be careful down here.
No, you gotta be careful
how you play the game down here.
It's just horrible here.
Florida. Oh, you're in Florida. She's in Florida, so yeah.
I was in Florida, man, but hey,
they bad.
Listen,
I was in Charleston, South Carolina for a while.
We wrote the book in Texas. Our former DA wrote the book on how to pick the right races of jurors and how to eliminate black people from jurors. People in Florida learn from people in Texas how to do that. I come from the county that started in.
I had to ask you a question, Calvin, and I'm gonna throw this out there in the loop, and you put premeditated in it. Do you feel any part of what the rest in peace deceased did could have even stemmed from a portion of premeditated as well? Because when he was told, when he came and asked him to move, and he said no, and then he said it again. He said, he put his hand up. He said, touch me and see what happened. Right there. Do you think it could have been a form of quick premeditation when he decided to reach and grab him instead of stopping right there, turning around and going getting the adult with the right muscle to have him move from under that tip? Because everybody want to say premeditated on Karmelo Anthony's side, but what part of that would have led? You don't think nothing in that was premeditated from this young man? Nothing that he could have done differently?
And this is what I'm trying to tell you. They're not, a jury out there is not going to look at it that way. I hear what you're saying. I get it. You're speaking from the heart. I get it. But that's not going to be the question that's going to be posed to the jury. If you do something wrong, you are allowed to respond. So if somebody touch me, I ain't got to let nobody touch me. I can two-piece him. I can push him down. I can take his hand off of me. I might be able to do a little something to him, a little extra.
So
but the problem is in Texas, based on what the law says, and I know that they're going to argue it this way, they're going to try to say that the stab to the heart is deadly force, and it is not the kind of force that was allowed to go back from the offensive touching. You're not going to be able to go response to an offensive touching to deadly force. And Karmelo is going to have to show, well, maybe I was in a vicinity with a lot of people that are not from my school, not from my team. I felt like other people were saying things, so that's why I took the route that I took.
That's
and
right.
He's going to say that, and then it's going to be up to the jury to decide if they're going to believe that or not, and that's going to be the issue.
So let me say this. Let me say this real quick. Let me say this.
In that
because
case,
we have a law. We have a jury that's going to. Okay, I'm not sure. I'm going to do a search. What are the news outlets that are prominently watched in Collin County and surrounding areas?
Oh, WFFA, KXTX, the Channel 8, Channel 4, Channel 5, Dallas. Those are the things that people are watching. And so my concern is the level of response is going to be the thing that gets questioned, and the case will turn on that level of response. Non-deadly force versus deadly force. Now, as I sit here as a kind of a legal analyst, I'm telling y'all that the biggest part of his case is going to be, can you respond to non-lethal force with lethal force? Was there the apprehension from your side that they were going to use this additional force above touching against you? So based off of that, you decided that you felt that deadly force was needed to combat the kind of force that was coming at you. And I think that's where the case is going to turn. And that's where, as an attorney, that's why I get concerned.
But how
it's
old
not
is
the
he?
fact that he responded, it's just to the level that he responded.
Right, but he's not.
When we talked about videos, it says that the video shows no obvious altercation prior to the stabbing. I mean, it wasn't no big hoopla.
But it wouldn't have been a prior altercation. It wasn't prior. It was in the moment. This wasn't
And
this.
see,
It depends on how you define it prior.
And see, for me, this is what I'm gonna tell y'all, right?
Level of fear.
For me, that's why I got a problem. I would have liked to see a little bit more of an altercation. I want to see a little bit more of a ruckus because it's gonna give me more to work with.
Well,
right?
what's the problem with that is if he got punched or kicked and there was another person behind him, even if the other person didn't hit him, that doesn't mean that he would have been able to reach for his weapon to defend himself. If he was afraid of that guy, and that guy in prior freaking, from what I'm hearing, though, I think you stated that there wasn't any evidence to support.
There was no evidence that they knew each other before then, and
that there was any threat prior to
before then to come out by now.
Right. But he's on their territory, and he ran in the rain under their tent, and now he's surrounded by their team. You know what I'm saying? And he has and if he had a pocket knife that's no more than 3 inches long, it wasn't no butcher knife, it wasn't no, double-edged blade. It was one of those little pocket knives. My grandfather used to tell me, you ain't a man unless you have a knife and $2 in your pocket.
And that's what I was going to tell you, because back in the days, we all know what our grandpapas used to have up there, because they always
had to have a knife. You had at least to cut some rope or something. You know what I'm saying? Like if you in a situation, or you get tied up or something, you know what I'm saying, or you gotta free something up. You know what I'm saying? Well, I don't care. Down south, you gotta free up a hog that got caught up in some ropes. Or, you know what I mean? You have to have a pocket knife. So a pocket knife is not necessarily legal, but you know what I'm saying, if they could try to establish some evidence that he brought it to in order with intent. And that's the problem. I think the prosecution is going to have, as of course, we're knowing that the jury pool might be tainted with implicit and explicit biases. However, legally speaking, you know what I'm saying, from the intent, you know what I'm saying, because intent is mens rea is everything, right? When it comes to whether it was a first-degree murder or a manslaughter charge or a self-defense charge. And self-defense can oftentimes, especially in a stand your ground state, be defended by the level of fear that one might perceive from the altercation, even though maybe they didn't have weapons. They try to use that in that case with these two young men in the I'll be quick, I'm sorry, I don't mean to be long-winded. With the the preppy party murder trial on Court TV, still going on. It should start back over on Monday with the preppy murder trial. The dude, you know what I'm saying, they said, well, listen, he's not no martial artist, he's not a weapons specialist, but he was getting kicked and beaten by multiple opponents, you know what I'm saying? And at what point do you decide when it's time to use that kind of force before you get kicked in the head and have an aneurysm?
And that's the argument that he's going to try to make. And that's one of the arguments that I would try to make. Everybody in the comment section, let me be clear. I'm not making excuses for anybody.
No.
What I try to do, I try to tell folks where our problem, where our blind spots are. My job ain't to come to agree with anybody. My job is to look at a situation, obsess over my problem areas and try to fix them. And that's what I would be over obsessing on.
I agree with
I would be over obsessing on my problem areas, trying to fix them. And that's why it's rough, y'all. And listen, I'm gonna tell y'all one thing. That's why I try to tell people, I cannot be a prosecutor. I just can't do it. I feel dirty if I did. I would feel dirty. I'm gonna be honest with you. I probably have to go bathe after every case because I can't do that. I just can't do it.
I want to say this to One Love in the chat. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I'm not making excuses. Those dudes were thugging. Those dudes were thugging on them, B. You know what I'm saying? I really feel that.
So,
but we still gotta wait until the evidence is presented.
I want to say something.
All right, guys, we have approached our time. We're 30 minutes over, and we never got off the first subject, so we have to come back.
We're gonna come back again, but listen, y'all. Let me tell you what I'm gonna do. And I know, Mel, I'm hoping that you come down here and check us out. Man, I got some good places. We're gonna take care of you, New Yorkers down here. We got you covered. But I'm gonna tell y'all. Listen, y'all. I love doing this with y'all. And the reason why I say I love it because everybody brings a different element and opinion.
Right.
I respect everybody's opinion. Just as a lawyer, I tell y'all, when I see a problem in any case, I over obsess about it because I like my clients to go home. I don't like people to go to jail. Dealing with me, I may have 2 or 3 people a year out of 300 that actually got to go to jail. And I don't like that. And so when I see a problem in a case, I over obsess about it and I get concerned because I anticipate what the other side is going to do. The way that the law, and y'all were with me earlier when I was reading out the law, actually reading out the way the law works in Texas, I would be concerned about how this happened based on how they write law here in Texas, because every state is different. New York is different from California. California is different from Florida. Yeah. Florida is different from Texas. Even though we both have stand your ground, there's certain amounts of stuff that's
statutory laws. Like we don't got to do ground up here in New York.
And then on top of that, there's discretionary situations.
There's some self-defense, but you still have an obligation to try to retreat here.
Yeah, some states you do, you know, and that's why, that's why I get concerned. So I want everybody to understand on the environment that we have this case here in Texas, what my concerns are. I'm not going against Karmelo. I'm just telling y'all what my concerns would be if I was.
I don't think it's
as an attorney, you have to think about all of the angles. Yo, listen, y'all. I would love for us to create a true crime panel. You know what I'm saying? I listen. We clean house with that, yo.
Yeah, I'm serious. We should. We got good. You got good folks on this stream.
I'm telling you.
We got
I watch
Mel.
TV all day. Michael Ayala.
We got Queen here. We got
Queen. Listen. We need to do more of this stuff because our people really need that legal literacy, and they need these conversations. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people just think that they're going to, handle something a certain way, and they don't know how to handle it. My son sits and watches me watch court TV all day. He watches all kinds of trials, and this is and I'm able to have a conversation, explain to him, like, you can't chase after somebody who pissed you off and then do this, that. You have to know how to move and defend yourself, but at the same time, you have to also know in this state you got to retreat. Every state is different. You know what I'm saying? And on top of that, you're African American.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So you got a couple of things working against you.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be careful, and you got to remember your dad. I'm going to fight for you, but you know what I'm saying? If something happens,
to work with.
You got to remember, I'm not going to hold it all together.
I'm not Houdini. I give you something to work with. Be careful, right?
Right.
One question before we leave. Do you think that he implicated himself when the police pulled him, apprehended him? He says, and they asked him what happened. And he says, "Well, yeah, I did do it. It was so." He kind of admitted to it was so. I did it, and it was self-defense. Like,
I don't think that hurts him.
I think
that's what he's saying, how he felt in the moment. I don't think that really hurts. I think the biggest part of his case is he going to be allowed to respond to the level that he responded? And that's where the case is going to turn one way or the other. And does the jury believe that he felt like he was in enough danger to respond the way he responded?
But you
and
can't,
how
you
they
can't gauge for his level
law.
of fear.
Yeah,
right?
his level of fear and the level of response.
He might have been beat up before. He might have had some traumatic experiences in his past.
Not even that. He
might not be a fighter. You know what I'm saying? Like, some folks are a fighter, so they think, well, they assume that because he's black, he's supposed to have some hands, and maybe he ain't got no hands. He just didn't want to get beat up.
But in the news, they have showed all types of stuff.
Scared out of his drawers.
In the news, they keep showing him, making him look like he is like
some thug. They always want to turn us into animals and thugs when they're the ones freaking daggone eating people. Jeffrey no Dahmer.
Exactly.
I don't say no Diddy. I say no Dahmer. No,
I know he said
come on, y'all.
But listen. We got to do this again. I think we can try to do something next Sunday. I'll try to follow up this case with whatever I'm hearing out here and whatever I see out here in Texas. And like I said, I got to be careful because I know a few of the people involved, but I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to tell y'all the truth. I'm not going to put one pack Kool-Aid in it. I'm always going to put 2 packs of a bunch of sugar and a lemon in it. So I want to make sure that we understand each other. And once again, y'all, I love the stream that we're doing. We should definitely keep it up on Sundays. And I'm enjoying this with everybody. I appreciate all the respect and the love y'all show me. Mel, Genesis, Queen, Uda, everybody, my man coming here that's paralegal. I appreciate all of y'all. Love y'all. And I'll be glad to see you guys again next Sunday. I enjoy doing this. We're gonna do this again.
Thank you. I dropped my link in the chat too. So Zion, I normally talk about this case when it's an update. This is one of the cases that I talk about on my channel. So I wouldn't mind.
I would like to add your channel, you know what I mean?
I'll put it in the private chat.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, and I'm gonna subscribe so I can
I'm gonna subscribe
to everybody.
Let's go, Queen.
All right, y'all. Y'all take care.
Shalom, shalom, shalom. Yes,
I look forward to this. Thank y'all, everybody. And
trying to get it right. Transition, changing the way that I see life. Transition mind. I'm on a mission, trying to get it right. I'm transitioning my life, making a transition. Ooh, making a transition. Ooh, 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 ooh. Making a transition. Ooh, 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 ooh. On a mission, I'm on a mission. On a mission, I'm trying to get it right. Changing the way that I see life. Transition in my life. On a mission.